So we will continue with Gurvastaka. Now will be 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we begin, vamos a continuar con el Gurvastaka 5, 6, 7 y 8. Vamos a ver las traducciones. First the translation. Number 5, 5, the spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
El maestro espiritual está siempre anhelando escuchar y cantar acerca de los ilimitados pasatiempos conyugales de Radhika y Madhava y acerca de sus cualidades, nombres y formas. El maestro espiritual aspira a saborear esto a cada momento. Yo ofrezco mis respetuosas reverencias a los pies del loto de semejante maestro espiritual.
And 6. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
El maestro espiritual es muy querido porque es experto en asistir a las gopis que en distintos momentos lo disponen todo primorosamente para que los amoríos conyugales de Radha y Krishna en los bosques de Vrindavan sean perfectos. Yo ofrezco mis respetuosas reverencias a los pies del loto de semejante maestro espiritual.
So we have actually only one quote by Srila Prabhupada. The same lecture he gave in Sweden in 1973. Solamente tenemos una cita de Srila Prabhupada acerca de estos dos casos, dada en Suecia en 1973. Es el mismo programa público, a public program. So about 5 and 6 he says, the spiritual master is always thinking of the pastimes of Krishna with his consort Srimati Radharani and the gopis.
El maestro espiritual siempre está pensando en los pasatiempos de Krishna con su consorte Srimati Radharani y las gopis.
Sometimes he is thinking about Krishna's pastimes with the cowherd boys.
A veces medita en los pasatiempos de Krishna con los pastorcillos.
This means that he is always thinking of Krishna engaged in some kind of pastime.
Esto significa que él siempre está pensando en Krishna interactuando en algún pasatiempo.
Pratikshana svarana lolupasya. Pratikshana means he is thinking that way 24 hours a day.
Pratikshana significa que está concentrado así las 24 horas del día.
That is Krishna consciousness.
Esa es la conciencia de Krishna.
One must be engaged 24 hours a day in thinking of Krishna.
Hay que dedicarse las 24 horas del día a pensar en Krishna.
You have to make yourself a program like this.
Usted tiene que hacer un programa como el nuestro.
We at least have made such a program.
Nosotros al menos tenemos este programa.
All the boys and girls in the Krishna consciousness movement are engaged 24 hours daily. Not just officially. Not that once a week they meditate or go to some temple. No, they engage 24 hours a day.
Todos los jóvenes en el movimiento para la conciencia de Krishna se dedican 24 horas al día, no solo oficialmente. No es que una vez a la semana meditan o van a algún templo, no. Ellos están dedicados las 24 horas del día.
And about 6, which is related, y acerca del 6 que está relacionado, Nikundayuno ratikeli siddhyai yayali viryuktir apekshaniya. So the ultimate goal of the spiritual master is that he wants to be transferred to the planet of Krishna, where he wants to associate with the gopis to help them to serve Krishna.
Así pues, el objetivo final del maestro espiritual es que él desea ser transferido al planeta de Krishna y ahí asociarse con las gopis para ayudarlas a servir a Krishna.
Some of the devotees, spiritual master, they are thinking of becoming assistants to the gopis. Some of them are thinking to be assistants to the cowherd boys. Some of them are thinking to be assistants to Mother Yashoda or Nanda. And some of them are thinking to be servants of God.
Algunos de los devotos, que son maestros espirituales, están pensando en convertirse en asistentes de las gopis. Otros están reflexionando en ser asistentes de algún pastorcillo. Algunos están contemplando ser ayudantes de Madre Yashoda o Nanda. Y algunos de ellos están pensando en ser sirvientes de Dios.
Or some of them are thinking how to become a flower, tree, a fruit tree or calf or cow in Vrindavan.
O algunos están pensando cómo volverse una flor, un árbol, un frutal, o un ternero o una vaca en Vrindavan.
There are 5 kinds of mellows.
Hay 5 tipos de melosidades.
Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Everything is there spiritual.
Todo ahí es espiritual,
That I shall describe next.
lo cual describiré a continuación.
Chintamani Prakara Satmasu. In the spiritual sky, the land is spiritual, the tree is spiritual, the fruit is spiritual, the flower is spiritual, the water is spiritual, the servant is spiritual, the friend is spiritual, the Lord is spiritual, and his associates are spiritual. Everything.
Así pues, en el cielo espiritual, la tierra es espiritual, el árbol es espiritual, la fruta es espiritual, la flor es espiritual, el agua es espiritual, el sirviente es espiritual, el amigo es espiritual, el Señor es espiritual y sus compañeros son espirituales. Todo.
Therefore, oneness, the absolute truth, everything is absolute.
Por tanto, en la unidad, en la verdad absoluta, todo es absoluto.
Although there are varieties, these varieties, the spiritual varieties, are simply a reflection in this material world.
Aunque hay variedades, esas variedades, las variedades espirituales en este mundo material no son más que un reflejo.
Just like there is a tree on the bank of the river.
Al igual que hay un árbol a la orilla del río que se refleja en el agua.
That is reflected in the water, but reflected how? The top has gone down.
Pero ¿cómo se refleja? La parte superior está hacia abajo.
The topmost thing has gone down.
Lo más importante está hacia abajo.
So this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, but a perverted reflection.
Entonces, este mundo material es el reflejo del mundo espiritual, pero es un reflejo desvirtuado.
So, it's significant that Prabhupada doesn't go into any details about the gopis and Radharani like, others do. So, es significativo que Srila Prabhupada no entra en detalle acerca de las gopis o de Srimati Radharani como otros lo hacen. He emphasizes that in the spiritual world, first of all, everything is absolute, so there's, in that sense, in the sense of tattva, there's no difference. No enfatiza que en el mundo espiritual, a nivel de tattva, todo es absoluto, no hay diferencia. Because some have this tendency to emphasize the difference and just concentrate on gopis as the highest, and everything else is like secondary and not very interesting. No, otros tienen esa propensión de enfatizar las gopis y más o menos decir que es lo más elevado y todo lo demás es como algo secundario, and in one sense not desirable, no deseable. Which of course is an offensive mentality, es una mentalidad ofensiva. So he points out that, yes, I mean, one thing also we should remember, this Gurvastaka, written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is a poem, a glorification of his own spiritual master. ¿No? El Gurvastaka está escrito por Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, es una glorificación de su propio maestro espiritual. So in that sense, not everything described here necessarily applies to every single spiritual master existing at any time or in any place. ¿No? No quiere decir que no todo lo que se describe aquí necesariamente se aplica a cualquier maestro espiritual en cualquier lugar o cualquier tiempo. Therefore, Prabhupada makes this point. ¿No? Therefore, por lo tanto, Prabhupada hace este punto. Because if you just look at it as it is, it means, or it seems that every spiritual master is always engaged in hearing and chanting about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. ¿No? O sea, según lo que se dice aquí, parece que el maestro espiritual siempre está ocupado en escuchar y cantar acerca de los ilimitados pasatiempos de Radha and Krishna. Or that he is expert in assisting the gopis, ¿no? Que está muy experto en asistiendo a las gopis. Therefore, Prabhupada points out, well, maybe some are with the cowherd boys, or with Mother Yashoda and Nanda, or some even want to become a flower or a tree. And say, what? Flower or tree? I don't want to become a flower or a tree. Sí, por lo tanto, dice aquí que algunos quizás tienen ese deseo de estar con los pastorcillos de vacas, o con Nanda Yashoda, o incluso pensando en volverse un árbol o una flor o algo así. Muchas personas piensan árbol y flor, yo no quiero ser esto. So, which means they just have a material consciousness, ¿no? Una conciencia material. You make these differences, hacemos esas diferencias, and therefore he makes it very clear. In the spiritual realm, everything is spiritual. There's no difference in that sense, ¿no? Por lo tanto, dice aquí que en el mundo espiritual todo es espiritual, y por lo tanto no hay diferencia en ese sentido. Okay. So it's, I found it very interesting. There's only actually this one time he spoke about this. Solamente es esta vez que habla sobre esto. Not even in the books he goes into, describing this verse, ¿no? Describiendo estos versos. Any question? No. Good. No hay preguntas. So let's go to 7 and 8. There I have quotes for each one of them. I selected 3 quotes for each, so we can look at those. I will just read them. Let's first read here from Sweden about verse number 7. Guru means Krishna, Krishna means Guru.
Guru significa Krishna, Krishna significa Guru.
Not Mayavada, but Guru means one who follows Krishna. He is Guru.
No en el sentido de la filosofía mayavada, sino que Guru significa alguien que sigue a Krishna. Esa persona es Guru.
Sakshatarittvena samasta shastraya ruktastatha bhavyata eva sadbihi. So Guru is directly God, Sakshat Hari.
Entonces Guru es directamente Dios, Sakshat Hari.
Sakshat means directly, so why?
Sakshat significa directamente. Entonces, ¿por qué?
Kintu prabhoya priya eva. It does not mean Mayavadi, that he has become God.
No significa Mayavadi, que se ha convertido en Dios.
But Kintu prabhoya priya eva tasa, he is most confidential servant. He is therefore servant God.
Pero Kintu prabhoya priya eva tasya, sino que él es el sirviente más confidencial y querido.
He is God, the servant God, and God is master God.
Por lo tanto, Guru es el Dios servidor y Dios es el Dios maestro.
So why he has become Priya?
Entonces, ¿por qué se ha convertido en Priya, querido?
That Krishna says personally.
Krishna dice personalmente.
This is a quote from Bhagavad Gita, una cita de Bhagavad Gita. Nacha tasman manusyeshu kaschin me priya kritamaha. Nobody is dearer than him in the whole world. And why? Because he's preaching this gospel of Bhagavad Gita among the devotees.
Nadie me es más querido que él en todo el mundo. ¿Por qué? Porque predica la palabra de Dios de la Bhagavad Gita entre mis devotos.
So the Guru has got 2 businesses. He has to make devotees and teach them the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore he is so dear.
Entonces el guru tiene dos características, tiene que ser devotos y enseñarles los principios de la Bhagavad Gita. Por eso es tan querido.
All right, so let's see some quotes. Vamos a ver algunas citas más. So this is from, there's about more than 100 quotes. And the last one, almost 400. So these are the most important. Prabhupada preaching to us. ¿No? De estos hay unos 100 citas y el siguiente unos 400. Que muestra como Prabhupada enfatiza estos dos versos para nosotros. So this is from 4th Canto, chapter 22. Es el cuarto canto, capítulo 22, verso 16. The representative of Narayan is as good as Narayan, but is not to conclude, like the Mayavadis, that he has become Narayan. El representante de Narayan es como Narayan, pero no hay que concluir como lo hacen los Mayavadis que se ha vuelto Narayan. Generally, a sannyasi is addressed as Narayan by the Mayavadis. Namo Narayana. Por lo general, los Mayavadis dan a los sannyasis el tratamiento de Narayan. Their idea is that simply by taking sannyas one becomes equal to Narayan or becomes Narayan himself. Para ellos basta con adoptar la orden de sannyas para ser igual a Narayan o ser Narayan mismo. The Vaishnava conclusion is different. La conclusión Vaishnava es otra. As stated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, como lo afirma Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and then he quotes Sakshatari Tvena Samasta Shastraya. According to Vaishnava philosophy, a devotee is as good as Narayan not by becoming Narayan, but becoming the most confidential servant of Narayan. En la filosofía Vaishnava, un devoto es como Narayan, no porque se ha vuelto Narayan, sino porque es el sirviente más íntimo de Narayan. Such great personalities act as spiritual masters for the benefit of the people in general, and as such, a spiritual master who is preaching the glories of Narayan should be accepted as Narayan and be given all respects to him. Esas grandes personalidades actúan como maestros espirituales para el bien de la gente en general y por lo tanto se debe aceptar al maestro espiritual que predica las glorias de Narayan como si fuera el propio Narayan y debe ofrecérsele todo el respeto que se debe a Narayan. Cuarto canto también. Capítulo 31, verso 8, is 4th canto again, 31st chapter. Text 8, Narada instructs the Prachetas, Narada Muni, instruyendo a los Prachetas. In this verse, Bhagavan Narada indicates that Narada is always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. En este verso, Bhagavan Narada indicates que Narada siempre está absorto en pensar en la suprema personalidad de Dios, Bhagavat Utyam Tamashloka Avishtatma. Narada has no other business than thinking of Krishna, talking of Krishna, and preaching about Krishna. Therefore, he is sometimes called Bhagavan. Narada no tiene ninguna otra ocupación más que pensar en Krishna, hablar de Krishna y predicar acerca de Krishna. Por consiguiente, a veces recibe el calificativo de Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. Bhagavan significa aquel que posee todas las opulencias. When a person possesses Bhagavan within his heart, he is also sometimes called Bhagavan. La persona que lleva a Bhagavan en su corazón a veces también recibe el calificativo de Bhagavan. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, dice, Sakshat Taritve Nasa Samasta Shastraya. In every Shastra, the spiritual master is accepted directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Todos los Shastras reconocen que el maestro espiritual es directamente la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. This does not mean that the spiritual master or a saintly person like Narada has actually become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eso no significa que el maestro espiritual o las personas santas como Narada se hayan convertido en la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. But it is accepted in this way because he possesses the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart constantly. Si se les eleva hasta esa categoría es porque llevan a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios constantemente en el corazón. As described here, Avishtatma, when one is simply absorbed in the thought of Krishna, one is also called Bhagavan. Como aquí se explica, Avishtatma, Bhagavan, también es la persona que está absorta en pensar en Krishna. Bhagavan possesses all opulences, and if one possesses Bhagavan within his heart always, does he not automatically possesses all opulence also? Bhagavan posee toda la opulencia. ¿No la posee también el que lleva siempre a Bhagavan en el corazón? In that sense, a great devotee like Narada can be called Bhagavan. En ese sentido, un gran devoto como Narada también puede ser llamado Bhagavan. However, we cannot tolerate when a rascal or impostor is called Bhagavan. Sin embargo, no podemos tolerar que se dé este nombre a cualquier sinvergüenza o impostor. One must possess either all opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who possesses all opulences. O sea, one must possess all the opulences or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, possess in the heart. ¿No? Para llevar ese nombre es necesario poseer o bien todas las opulencias o bien a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios, Bhagavan, que posee todas las opulencias. And last quote about this, la última cita acerca de esto, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 10, verse 136, el capítulo 10, verso 136. An authorized spiritual master is as good as Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. El maestro espiritual autorizado es como Hari, la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. As Hari is free to act as he likes, the empowered spiritual master is also free. Del mismo modo que Hari es libre de actuar como quiera, el maestro espiritual dotado de poder también lo es. As Hari is not subject to mundane rules and regulations, the spiritual master empowered by him is also not subject. Del mismo modo que Hari no está sujeto a reglas y regulaciones mundanas, el maestro espiritual dotado de su poder tampoco lo es. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 7:11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. An authorized spiritual master empowered by Krishna can spread the glories of the holy name of the Lord, for he has a power of attorney from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Según el Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 7:11, el maestro espiritual autorizado y dotado del poder de Krishna puede propagar las glorias del santo nombre del Señor, pues está acreditado como representante de la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. In the mundane world, anyone possessing his master's power of attorney can act on behalf of his master. En el ámbito mundano, todo el que esté acreditado con poderes de su superior puede actuar en representación de su superior. Similarly, the spiritual master empowered by Krishna through his own bona fide spiritual master should be considered as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That is the meaning of Sakshat Daritvena. Del mismo modo, el maestro espiritual a quien Krishna ha dotado de poder por intermedio de su propio maestro espiritual genuino, debe considerarse igual a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios Eso es lo que significa Sakshatkarit Vena. Sri Chaitanya, well, that's next verse. Okay. Any question or comment about this? ¿Alguna pregunta, comentario acerca de esto?
How to understand that moment there it says like Krishna, he's fully independent and he can do whatever he likes. You know, he can say this is that way, this is that way, because it's Krishna, and you say, okay, of course.
Yeah.
And how we can understand the same thing for the spiritual master, because we know there is so much rules and regulation, actually. How, you know...
Well, he says, not subject to mundane rules and regulations. Not spiritual rules and regulations.
Okay.
Sujeto a reglas y regulaciones mundanas, no a reglas y regulaciones espirituales.
Yes.
Now, one may also, of course, argue, which is in some other places, that those who are on the highest platform, Uttama, they're beyond any rules and regulations, because spontaneously they are always serving Krishna. También se puede argumentar que aquellos que están en el nivel Uttama, más allá del mundo material, no están sujetos a ninguna reglas y regulaciones, porque espontáneamente todo lo que hacen está para el servicio de Krishna. But at the same time, they will never act like this while they are preaching in this world, because they're giving an example. So they will act on the Madhyam platform and follow the rules and regulations. ¿No? Al mismo tiempo, no actuarán así, sino se ponen en el nivel del Madhyam Adhikari para mostrar con su ejemplo cómo seguir las reglas y regulaciones. Otherwise, those who don't follow any of it are called avarutas. ¿No? Aquellos que no siguen ninguna regla y regulación, avarutas. There are some in our line, algunos en nuestra línea, but generally they don't have disciples and don't preach all over the world. Y por lo general no tienen discípulos y no predican en el mundo, because otherwise, these disciples will just follow that example without being qualified, and will be a chaos. ¿No? De lo contrario, discípulos van a seguir un ejemplo así sin ser cualificados y va a ser un caos. So, we have already enough avarutas. Ya tenemos suficientes avarutas.
We don't need to preach for new ones.
Yeah, there's no need, no hay necesidad para más. Which is false, of course, it's just simply, doesn't care for anything, no le importa nada. And for preaching, this is disastrous. Para la predica es un desastre. La gente, people will think, oh, this is Krishna consciousness. La gente va a pensar, eso es conciencia de Krishna. And it's not. No lo es. Okay, anything else? We still have one verse to go. Tenemos todavía un verso más. So vamos a ver el octavo. This is from Sweden, Deswithya. We should learn this principle enunciated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Debemos aprender este principio enunciado por Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Yasya prasara bhagavat prasaro yasya aprasara nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is benedicted. By the mercy of Krishna, without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Por la misericordia del maestro espiritual somos bendecidos con la misericordia de Krishna. Sin la gracia del maestro espiritual no podemos hacer el menor avance.
So in this connection we should note there's some Sanskrit rules, and the first one is yasya prasadat, by his mercy. And the second one is a compound which has a long A, yasya prasadan, which means yasya aprasadan, not prasadan. People, I think 99% of devotees who sing or chant this, they don't see any difference. And it actually means that by his mercy one will not attain the goal. Which doesn't mean that. It means without his mercy, aprasaram, you don't attain the goal. No. O sea, hay en el sánscrito está yasya prasara, que significa por su misericordia, y yasya prasaran, which es una alarga, se compone de yasya aprasara, que significa sin su misericordia. Uno no alcanza la meta. Cuando se canta, la mayoría de los devotos no saben la diferencia y suena igual, como no se alarga la segunda A, ¿no? The second A is not made longer, so it sounds yasya prasarat bhagavat prasaram, yasya prasarat nagativo topi. ¿No? Por su misericordia uno recibe la misericordia de Krishna y por su misericordia uno no alcanza la meta. Just to know, you're conscious of this. So, solamente para seamos conscientes. So, a disciple should never be a hypocrite or be unfaithful to his spiritual master.
El discípulo nunca debe ser un hipócrita ni debe ser infiel al maestro espiritual.
In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27, the spiritual master is also called Acharya.
En el Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27, el maestro espiritual se le da también el nombre de Acharya.
Acharya mam vijanayan, so this is Krishna speaking, Krishna habla. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that one should respect the spiritual master, accepting him as the Lord himself.
La Suprema Personalidad de Dios dice que es necesario respetar al maestro espiritual y considerarle al mismo nivel que el propio Señor.
Navamanyeta karhichit, one should not disrespect the Acharya at any time.
En ningún momento hay que faltarle el respeto al Acharya.
Namartya buddhya suyeta, one should never think the Acharya an ordinary person.
Nunca se debe considerar al Acharya una persona corriente.
Familiarity sometimes breeds contempt, but one should be very careful in one's dealing with the Acharya.
A veces la familiaridad da pie al menosprecio, pero en los tratos con el Acharya debemos ser muy cuidadosos.
So, from third canto, Kapila Deva, chapter 23, verse 7, this is the tercer canto, Kapila Deva, las enseñanzas, capítulo 23, verso 7. For spiritual advancement, the easiest path is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and to serve him with heart and soul. El sendero más fácil para los logros espirituales es refugiarse en un maestro espiritual genuino y servirle de todo corazón. That is the secret of success. Ese es el secreto del éxito, as stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master. Como afirma Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur en sus 8 estrofas en alabanza del maestro espiritual, Yasya Prasara Bhagavat Prasara. By serving or receiving the grace of the spiritual master, one receives the grace of the Supreme Lord. Sirviendo al maestro espiritual o recibiendo su gracia, se recibe la gracia del Señor Supremo. So by serving her husband, Gauravani Muni, Devahuti shared in his achievements. Sirviendo a su esposo devoto, Gauravani Muni, Devahuti participó de sus logros. Similarly, a sincere disciple, simply by serving a bona fide spiritual master, can achieve all the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master simultaneously. De manera similar, sirviendo a un maestro espiritual genuino, un discípulo sincero puede obtener toda la misericordia del Señor y del maestro espiritual simultáneamente. And then we have a quote from the 5th canto. This is Bharat Maharaj speaking after he had been a deer. He speaks to Maharaj Rahugana. Lo siguiente es una cita del 5º canto. Bharat Maharaj, después de haber sido un venado, habla a Maharaj Rahugana. I was fully engaged in the service of the Lord, but due to my misfortune, I became very affectionate to a small deer, so much so that I neglected my spiritual duties. And due to my deep affection for the deer, in my next life, I had to accept the body of a deer. Yo estaba plenamente ocupado en el servicio del Señor, pero por desdicha me encariñé de un cervatillo. Llegué a quererlo tanto que descuidé mis deberes espirituales y debido al profundo afecto que sentía por él, en mi siguiente vida tuve que recibir un cuerpo de ciervo. Purport, significado. The incident herein described is very significant. El incidente que se describe en este verso es muy significativo. In a previous verse it is stated, en un verso anterior se afirmaba, Vinamat pararajo bhishekam. One cannot attain perfection without smearing the dust from the lotus feet of an exalted devotee on his head. No se puede obtener la perfección sin ungir la cabeza con el polvo de los pies de lote de un devoto excelso. If one always follows the orders of the spiritual master, there is no question of falling down. Si seguimos siempre las órdenes del maestro espiritual, no hay posibilidad de caer. As soon as a foolish disciple tries to overtake his spiritual master and becomes ambitious to occupy his post, he immediately falls down. Pero el discípulo necio que trata de pasar por encima de su maestro espiritual y ambiciona ocupar su posición, cae de inmediato. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasada nagati kutopi. If the spiritual master is considered an ordinary man, the disciple surely loses his chance to advance further. Si un discípulo considera a su maestro espiritual un hombre corriente, es seguro que perderá su oportunidad de seguir avanzando. Despite a very rigid life in devotional service, Bharat Maharaj did not consult a spiritual master when he became overly attached to a deer. Consequently, he became strongly attached to the deer and forgetting his spiritual routine, he fell down. Bharat Maharaj, a pesar de que llevaba una vida de servicio devocional muy estricta, no consultó a ningún maestro espiritual cuando se apegó indebidamente a un ciervo. En consecuencia, su apego se hizo muy fuerte y olvidando sus prácticas espirituales, cayó de su posición. Y esto es un significado del séptimo canto, capítulo 9, las oraciones de Prahlad Maharaj, verso 28. Now, this is a quote from the 7th canto, chapter 9, the prayers by Prahlad Maharaj, text 28. Purport, significado. While teaching Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu en sus enseñanzas a Rupa Goswami dijo, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata dij. One can achieve the seed of devotional service by the mercy of the Guru, the spiritual master, and then by the mercy of Krishna. La semilla del servicio devocional se puede obtener primero por la gracia del Guru, del maestro espiritual, y después por la misericordia de Krishna. This is the secret of success. Ese es el secreto del éxito. First, one should try to please the spiritual master, and then one should attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Primero hay que tratar de complacer al maestro espiritual, pero para después tratar de complacer a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur dice también, Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado. One should not attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by concoction. No debemos tratar de complacer a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios inventando nosotros mismos el modo de hacerlo. One must first be prepared to serve the spiritual master, and when one is qualified, he is automatically offered the platform of direct service to the Lord. Primero debemos estar dispuestos a servir al maestro espiritual, y cuando nos hayamos elevado al nivel requerido de modo natural, se nos ofrecerá la posibilidad de servir directamente al Señor. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj proposed that he engage in the service of Narada Muni. He never proposed that he engage directly in the service of the Lord. Por esa razón, Prahlad Maharaj propuso ocuparse en el servicio de Narada Muni. Nunca propuso ocuparse directamente en el servicio del Señor. This is the right conclusion. Esa es la conclusión correcta. Therefore he said, por lo tanto dijo, Soham katam nu vishriye tava britya sevam. How can I give up the service of my spiritual master who has favored me in such a way that I am now able to see you face to face? ¿Cómo puedo abandonar el servicio de mi maestro espiritual que me ha favorecido de tal manera que ahora puedo verte cara a cara? Prahlad Maharaj prayed to the Lord that he might continue to engage in the service of his spiritual master, Narada Muni. Prahlad Maharaj oró al Señor para poder seguir ocupándose en el servicio de su maestro espiritual, Narada Muni. So, comments, questions? Yes.
I have some ideas, comments, questions. It's a mix, so I'll try to speak it out. I was thinking that you read before about the spiritual master and the relationship with the spiritual master, and the familiarity brings contempt. So I was thinking that is very, maybe it's difficult to keep the balance when you are close to the spiritual master in the Vapu service. Maybe when it's the Vani service, it's easier because you are not in contact with the spiritual master every day. You don't see the spiritual master as another, it's not close to you, so it's easy, I think so, when it's in Vani service. So, okay. So tengo unas ideas y unas preguntas que tienen que ver con la relación con el maestro espiritual. Y en relación a eso, sobre la familiaridad que trae el desprecio, que se provoca por la familiaridad que provoca el desprecio, que es más fácil a lo mejor en Vani mantener la relación con el maestro espiritual, pero se vuelve más difícil en el servicio Vapu, porque uno está más cerca al maestro espiritual y es como mantener ese balance. So, in the Vapu service will be hard maybe, because our society train us to be like, nobody wants to be a servant. Nobody wants to be like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that because it's not for my position, it's not for me, and whatever. All the people, the poorest and the richest, nobody wants to be servant. So, when we are like with the experience, okay. So, en la sociedad en general, somos entrenados a que nadie quiere ser sirviente, ni el más pobre ni el más rico, nadie, lo despreciamos completamente. Entonces, en esa posición, y ahora sí voy a seguir con lo del Vapu, so in that position, with that mentality, all the people that we are trying to practice something of Bhakti-yoga, we receive a spiritual master. So with that mentality, in Vapu service, it's very hard to keep that balance, because you see with like material mentality, and you see, oh, this spiritual master, or this man, or this man is like that, this like that, this like that, and then it's very like Chinese plates rolling in the stick to keep the rolling without breaking the plates, keep the balance, because I think it's how to develop the proper balance in the Vapu service. And I was thinking, so that is a speculation. So, es difícil entonces en el servicio Vapu con esa mentalidad mantener el balance, así como los platillos chinos que giran y mantener ese balance. So, estaba pensando, I was thinking that maybe we have also the deity, an exercise, the deity in the altar. the exercise is to, because it's Krishna there, but also it's exercise for us to start to develop something. Maybe. So it's the same exercise with the spiritual master in Bapu, maybe. The exercise that we are not impersonalist like Mayavadis, because the spiritual master is the light. It's everywhere. So we have like a tradition where the spiritual master is a person. Also like we have deities, because we have to understand that Bhakti-yoga is personalism. So maybe we can use the same mentality that we are using with the deities, with the spiritual master figure when we are in Bapu service, to keep the balance, to be like we can, because also we can go to the another extreme. I don't want to say anything, I don't want to look at him, I don't want to, because we are afraid. So maybe podemos traspasar la relación con las deidades, hacer el ejercicio que hacemos con las deidades, llevarlo al ejercicio con el maestro espiritual, y mantener un balance, así como nos entrenamos con las deidades para acercarnos a Krishna, ver también que la relación en Bapu puede ser un entrenamiento, porque para mantener un balance, porque tampoco se trata de tener un extremado miedo, que no nos acercamos ni siquiera al maestro espiritual porque lo vemos en Bapu, no nos queremos ni acercar, pero tampoco ir a la familiaridad. So, when in the song, in the poem, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur spoke about the spiritual master, maybe he's trying to give us like an advice about what represents the figure of the spiritual master when he's alive. Like he's representing like a really shame behind him, his own spiritual master. So we always speak about that, but in the reality it's hard to realize that, because we have this, always we are in between, we are something that with our mentality. So how can we find this balance between like not to be like afraid, I don't want to see him, I don't want to do nothing, and then to dispel him, like, oh, this is another old man or whatever, like. So it's hard, I think so. It's hard to, in the practice it's hard, because we have the mentality that we don't want to be servant. We have all this knowledge, but in the practice it's hard. I think that is a breaking point for ISKCON, I think so. Where is the proper balance? Because also it's not like a psychologist, the spiritual master. It's not like to resolve these kind of problems. And I think we have something maybe like a mix. And I think now, maybe it's a mistake, but now in ISKCON, maybe we don't have like a proper training to keep the balance in the relationship with the spiritual master. Yeah. So, la pregunta va por eso, de cómo trabajar en la realidad en forma práctica, este balance con el maestro espiritual, porque ahora tal vez es uno de los desafíos en ISKCON, que es que no nos lleva ni a la familiaridad, ni nos lleva a ver al maestro espiritual como el psicólogo que resuelve todo, pero tampoco verlo como lejano y distante, sino como en la posición correcta. Y tal vez ese entrenamiento de la posición correcta nos falta porque tenemos una mentalidad también que no quiere ser sirviente, entonces está todo mezclado, es difícil. So.
Interesting, interesante. Now there's there's another extreme at the same time happening somewhere, it appears. Hay otro extremo, parece. There's a proposal by one devotee, senior devotee, to the GBC to talk about a certain subject matter. Hay una propuesta de un devoto mayor que el GBC hable sobre un tema, now in Mayapur, coming in a few months, ahora en Mayapur. Apparently, this is something that is on his mind, because he's seeing this, I don't know where. porque parece que está en su mente y es algo que le preocupa y no sé dónde. So what is this subject? What is this preoccupation? ¿Cuál es esa preocupación? This concern. Guru is not God. Acknowledge that Guru is human and demystify the role. ¿No? El Guru no es Dios. Reconocer que el Guru es humano y demistificar ¿no? el papel. So apparently somewhere, someone, people, devotees, disciples think like that. ¿No? Aparentemente en algunos lugares, algún lugar, discípulos piensan así. I'm sure, I hope nobody will think about me like that. ¿No? Espero y que estoy seguro que nadie piensa de mí así. But so this is another, and of course we have seen this in other people. These so-called Bhagavans. Prabhupada spoke about Bhagavans. ¿No? Eso lo hemos visto en otros grupos cuando se habla de un Bhagavan. I mentioned sometime before, in the 70s, there was Guru Maharaji. Mencionado en los 70, había este personaje Guru Maharaji, who was presented by his mother as Krishna. ¿No? Que fue presentado por su madre como Krishna. So there are photos, you can go online, and I think you can still find them. It's like a deity, with his crown and the flute and all the, dressed like Radha Krishna we dress. ¿No? Vestido como corona, con la flauta, como Krishna, como lo hacemos con las deidades. And people accepted that. ¿No? Y gente lo aceptó. I mean, in India it's very common. There is what they call the God man. ¿No? En la India es muy común el hombre Dios. And Prabhupada, he mentioned when he speaks about this Bhagavan, Narada Muni is sometimes addressed as Bhagavan, or a devotee is addressed as Bhagavan because they have Bhagavan in their heart. But he's not Bhagavan. ¿No? So Prabhupada ha explicado que a veces al devoto como Narada Muni o otros se les llama Bhagavan, que normalmente es un nombre que se reserva para la Suprema Personalidad de Dios. ¿Por qué? Porque tienen Bhagavan en su corazón, pero no son Bhagavan. So this Sakshat Hari Trena Samasta Shastra, this is directly Hari, yes and no. ¿No? O sea, que directamente es Hari, que es y no es. So, but apparently we are not very intelligent, so we sometimes go to this, what is demystified, which means there is some mysticism going on, that people think that, the Guru is God. I don't know. I don't know where and who, but if this is presented, that the GUC should talk about it, means it's something that is not just isolated somewhere, but it's somewhere maybe prominent. O sea, me extraña, pero parece que sí, que hay esa tendencia de mistificar al Guru y algunos lo ven en ese sentido como Dios y parece que es tan preocupante que hay que proponerlo para que se hable y que se pronuncie que no, el Guru no es Dios. If you read Prabhupada's books, you understand he's not God. ¿No? Si uno lee los libros de Prabhupada, entiende que no es Dios. But we are not intelligent. ¿No? O sea, no somos inteligentes, somos muy estúpidos. And I don't know, no sé. And so, as I said, this Guru Maharaji, and there were other people who, and the followers had just become like stupid, crazy, thinking that somebody is God, How can you think like that? Pero es así, o sea, en otros, como he explicado, ese Guru Maharaji y otros tipos que había, que la gente aceptó, pensaba que esto es Dios. No sé. So, familiarity may breed contempt, may be better than thinking he's God. ¿No? Si la familiaridad produce el desprecio, pues casi mejor que el otro lado que uno piensa que es Dios, ¿no? Now, this is also not good, obviously. No es bueno, obviamente. Pero bueno, es lo que hay. That's what's going on. anything else? Algo más. 9 en punto. We did our 1 hour. I think we did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's of course many more quotes. I mean, if you read, you have to read. Then you know. Entonces sabe. And if not, then the mind begins to speculate. De lo contrario, la mente le gusta especular. And so invent so many ideas. Inventar tantas ideas. And and of course, as you mentioned, this nobody wants to be servant. I don't think you have to be trained like that. No? Mencionaste que nadie quiere ser sirviente, servidor, y creo que ni siquiera hace falta que uno es entrenado. This is the conditioned soul's disease, ¿no? Es la enfermedad del alma condicionada. Therefore, Krishna says, what is this type of person thinking? Ishvaroham. I'm Ishvara, I'm not a das. No? La persona así piensa como Krishna dice en Bhagavad Gita, Ishvaroham. I'm the master. I'm not a servant. Nobody. Nobody. So, but we are. Pero somos, no? This is something one has to, at least with the intelligence, understand and accept, although we may not feel like it immediately. ¿No? Con la inteligencia debemos aceptarlo, aunque no nos sentimos así. It's not so difficult to understand. No es tan difícil de entender. Well, you may think I'm not the servant of anyone. ¿No? Uno puede pensar que yo no sirvo a nadie. Especially those who have a lot of power. They think like that. ¿No? Gente que tiene mucho poder, seguro que piensa así. They become very much offended if anybody doesn't treat them as a master. ¿No? Y se ofenden enseguida cuando alguien no les trata como, no maestro, como amo o controller. But first of all, most of these people are, without any doubt, servant of their senses. ¿No? O sea, toda esa gente, sin excepción prácticamente, son sirvientes de sus sentidos. The tongue, the eyes, and especially the genital dictate, and they just do. They have to follow. ¿No? Los ojos, especialmente los genitales, dictan y siguen y hacen lo que el sentido pide. ¿No? Whatever the sense demands, one will follow as a very humble servant. Un sirviente humilde. And then, of course, one is a servant of the laws of nature. ¿No? Uno es sirviente de las leyes de la naturaleza. You might think you are above the law, but when there's a little virus, then even the most powerful presidents and prime ministers suddenly have a mask. Y cuando uno puede creerse el amo y el controlador de todo, pero viene un pequeño virus que hasta los presidentes y primer ministro o canciller, si estamos en Alemania, tiene que llevar una mascarilla. And so many other things. You may not want to pee because you have some important business, but either you go to the toilet or you just pee on yourself. Yeah. Quizás no quieres mear, como se dice en España por lo menos. Tienes algo muy importante que hacer, pero más vale que vayas al servicio porque si no te meas encima. One is not in charge. Uno no está controlando. You control for some time, but then the laws of nature will just dictate. Bow down. Pee. Ya, las leyes de la naturaleza son así, ¿no? Uno no quiere obedecer y al final te dicen, venga, agáchate, mea. Inclina la cabeza. En fin, and of course finally death will just come and say, time to go. No, not yet. I just have all these billions I have to spend first of all. No, signor. Come on, let's go. You know, y al final la muerte viene. Y dice, no, let's go. It's time to go. No, vamos, hora de ir. No, todavía no. Tengo tantos billones para gastar. You have to leave them for all these rascals who will just spend it for nothing. ¿No? Hay que dejarlo a estos sinvergüenzas que no van a gastar para cosas inútiles. Yeah. What was it? Oh, anyway, yeah. Just a strange news. He's a billionaire also, the proprietor of Hermes.
Yeah.
He will leave all his inheritance to the gardener. Probably there are some family members, but they're all useless, so he gives it to the gardener. Yeah. ¿No? El propietario de Hermes, un billonario, va a dejar toda su herencia al jardinero.
Yeah.
Todas las familiares seguramente inútiles, pues. Pero he knows. I have to go very soon, no? So muy pronto tengo que ir. Yeah. So, we are servants, just understand it. You may not like it, but you can't change that. ¿No? O sea, somos sirvientes, aunque no te guste, eso no se puede cambiar. When we try, like Hiranyakashipu, first thing you try to become immortal. And then Vishwajit, you conquer the universe. ¿No? Como Hiranyakashipu, primero intenta ser inmortal y luego Vishwajit conquistar el universo entero. Okay. But then comes death personified. Luego viene Nisingadev, la muerte personificada. It just rips you apart like a wasp. ¿Cómo se dice? Te desgarra como una avispa. ¿No? En fin, so, okay. Let's stop on this very positive note. Nota muy positiva. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granta Srimad Bhagavatam Chidana Chaitamrita ki jai, Sisi Gauravani Gauravakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.